Alright guys, welcome back to my Halloween marathon as we inch closer to Halloween. This right here is day number 24 of 31, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite games of all time. Now the original introduced us to platforming exploration in a moody type atmosphere with some creepy music to deliver an experience that was pretty much unheard of or not seen at that time. Of course, I am referring to Metroid on the NES. And today I'm going to be discussing the Super NES sequel, which just used the same concept and pretty much blew everything out of the water when it was introduced. This right here is Super Metroid. Now this game doesn't mess around with you. Right from the get-go, the introduction just sets up the mood. And that mood is that this here is going to be one suspense-filled game. So right there in the intro, it shows you a close-up of all the people that are dead. And at that point, you don't know why they're dead, but you just let it play out. And eventually, the scene just zooms out to show you the greater picture. And I love the way the cue of the music is set off by the appearance of the title. It's just perfect. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't care if this is a 16-bit game or that we're talking about this game in 2021. That intro right there is possibly one of the greatest intros in video game history. You don't need fancy graphics, voiceovers, or full motion video to reel in your audience. This title proves that. This here is how you kick it off in presenting and setting the mood that you want for your game. For those of you out there who have not played Metroid on the Game Boy, this game takes place right after that game. Now in actuality, the intro to this game tells you the backstory of what happened on the Game Boy game, which is a direct sequel to the NES one, and lets you catch up on the storyline before it commences. Now I know this game is not the first one to use cinematic and stuff like that, but it was a very nice touch to add to the beginning of the game to let players know what had transpired since the NES game. And it also helped out those players that did not play the Game Boy game, like myself. Because after this cutscene, there's really no other use of cinematics or cutscenes to further the plotline. Not that you need cutscenes, because the game itself pretty much tells a story and lets you play it out as opposed to watching a cutscene or two where you have absolutely no control over. Unlike part 1, this one over here helps you out a little bit by introducing the map system, which shows you locations that you have found, such as save points. That way you may come back to them at any time and not get lost in the process. It still doesn't tell you where to go next, and that kind of heightens the mystery and the discovery part of the game. It forces you to explore somewhat freely without really knowing where to go, and at the same time surprising you at every turn with obstacles and bosses that you were not expecting to run into. And what's cool about this game is that there's a lot of areas that you're going to come across that you can't access, because at that point you have no idea what's beyond the wall or in that level. All you know is that you can't access it and you have to find out a way around it or get an ability or suit enhancement to help you get into that area or past that obstacle. And this game actually offers a lot of cool features to your suit that were not available before, such as the grappling beam, a suit dash option that allows you to basically become like a running projectile and uses your momentum to propel you to new heights and places in the game. And one of my favorites is that cool little x-ray beam on your helmet that allows you to see hidden passages. Oh, what I would have given for that in the original NES game. Now that little feature alone would have been so cool in the original game, but I can understand why it wasn't available back then. And I cannot talk about this game without mentioning the music. It is so eerie, and a lot of the tunes just convey that sense of dread I mean, this right here is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time, and rightfully so. Some of the music is just so somber and creepy. Here, I'll just let you listen to a couple of the tracks to get an idea of why this game's soundtrack fits it perfectly. And if the atmosphere alone wasn't enough, then you have these really colorful and great looking bosses in the game. Now take Kraid here. He doesn't even fit in the screen properly, and you have to jump down to a lower level to get a full look at his body. That's how big he is. And he's just one of the first bosses. I'm not going to show any other bosses because I don't want to ruin it for anybody out there that hasn't played it, but just looking at the first boss alone already gives you an idea of what kind of game this is going to be. And I cannot finish this quick recap without mentioning the fact that thankfully, oh god, thankfully, every gamer out there knows what I'm talking about. Thankful for the fact that this game included a battery backup. I was so glad we did not have to put a password in order to continue the game. That is one thing that I did not like about the first one. It's the password system. And oh god, how heartbreaking it was when you went to put a password in that you had written down meticulously, and for some reason or another you messed up and you lost all your progress. I'm sure some of you out there have felt that pain and have gone through that situation. I did many times. Sucks. And as a kid, that was just heartbreaking and demoralizing. I had always hoped that Nintendo would have re-released the game with a battery backup, since they had introduced that option in The Legend of Zelda, but unfortunately that never happened. Now, I played this game about every year or two in its entirety, and I have never gotten bored of it, and I never tire of it. That's because I think all the elements came together perfectly in this game. The music, the graphics, the actual presentation. I mean, it just set the tone from the get-go and never let up. Now, for some reason, if you have never played this game, or maybe you've never played a Metroid game, and that's okay. But you know what? I highly recommend you do so. The games in this franchise are just absolutely amazing. Try playing Metroid the original without looking up any tips or facts or maps on the internet to get a real sense of a challenge, and then follow it up by playing this game right here to see what the fuss was all about back then. Another great way to showcase what 16-bit could do in those days and why it was worth it to upgrade your system to a Super Nintendo or a Genesis or any other type of system. You know, I just realized something. This is day number 24, and this game was marketed as a 24 megabit cartridge. Ain't that something? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my little recap here of Super Metroid, one of my favorite games of all time. Be back here tomorrow for number 25, when I will be talking about a great Sega arcade game that is just right for the Halloween season. Stay tuned. Until then, remember,
the last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.